So before we start, we want to give a big shout out to Millennia Tea for sponsoring this episode. Millennia Tea is a woman-owned business built right here in Atlanta, Canada, that has created a brand new category of tea. It's fresh leaf tea, means they flash freeze tea leaves as soon as they pick them instead of heating and drying them like conventional teas. They do this because fresh tea is the superfood of all superfoods. It has 5 times the amount of antioxidants that other green teas do, which gives you a ton of benefits, like fighting free radicals in your body, fighting inflammation, boosting your immune system, and even giving you some anti-aging properties for your skin.
Ooh, we love all of that. Mm-hmm. I love all the anti-aging.
Me too, girl.
And Millennia has such a nice taste, whether you steep it or have it frozen in smoothies. Lately, I've been having the superfood tea cubes in my smoothies, and it is so fresh, and it gives me that mini caffeine boost without being jittery. So I'm just very focused and very calm. And I absolutely love it. You can follow Millennia Tea on Instagram at millennia_tea and get your own at many specialty health food stores throughout Canada in select Sobeys, or you can buy online at millenniatea.com and use the promo code Women's Day 20 for 20% off.
And thank you again to Millennia Tea for their support and celebrating International Women's Day with us.
What's up, everyone? You are listening to the Rival and Queen podcast. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Sarah.
Happy International Women's Day, Sarah.
Happy International Women's Day.
Such a beautiful day.
And I'm so excited that we're here.
We've got such an incredible podcast episode and lineup.
I know, and we're doing a special collaboration episode for you guys today with the very lovely Martina Kalades from the Life Out Loud podcast.
Hello.
Yeah, we're so happy.
It's me.
She's here.
I have arrived.
We're all
with
under
the Rival
one.
Queen.
Yes,
honey.
It's
Come
amazing.
on with it. I am so excited about this episode. And you know what? This has really just blossomed into this beautiful celebration of women and our voices.
100%. And thank you for kind of bringing this idea to the table when you and Sarah and I met for coffee, and it just kind of started to snowball. And
I know.
Here we are.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing this up. What a great idea. And
Oh my
it's grown
gosh.
so much from like that first coffee we had.
I love that. You know, like originally I was like, I want to do a special women's episode with the Rival and Queen girls because, y'all, I'll be watching you from a distance. And I'm like, I just love how you are interviewing so many powerful women. I know you interview men as well, but I just love the fact that you are like empowering women through your podcast. And I'm like, you know what? I think there's an opportunity there to join forces and to bring a special episode. But never did I imagine that we would grow it to where it is today.
I know. It just got its life of its own. And we appreciate you reaching out to us because we love you so much. And also, we always talk about how you have the perfect podcasting voice.
Yeah, it's so perfect. It's so soothing. Go on. No, it's really nice to collaborate with all the other ladies at BNV Media and kind of see what everyone's journey has been throughout the year, because it's been a tough friggin' year, especially for women.
Right.
So we're lucky to be able to use our voices and still connect with others and community during this time.
And it was great because when we talked about the representation of women in the podcasting industry, it was so cool to actually look at, okay, so the numbers really aren't that high for us as women. Like, what was it, 20%?
I think as hosts.
Our hosts.
Yeah.
That we know of. And I know there's still lots of data that's probably being collected around it because it's still a fairly new industry.
Yeah.
Fairly new. And so, but when we looked at our own BNV family of female podcasters, it was like, we have quite a few, which is really
50%.
exciting. 50%,
Yeah.
that's
It's
right.
so exciting.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice. We all have such different shows and everyone's message is very different. And you'll even hear that on today's episode. Like Geneva is a matchmaker. And so she's, we're looking out for the singles out there.
Making love happen.
Jess Beauchamp on the Stronger Feelings podcast, like her and Cooper, her co-hosts, are just about the difference of masculinity and femininity. So it's kind of interesting. We all have very different messages that we share.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And oh my gosh, y'all better be ready for this episode. That's all I have to say, because there is so much goodness that we're about to share.
Yeah, we kicked the show off with Tay, Anita, and I remember, I don't know if you guys had met previously, but I could like feel you were just so amped from her.
Oh my gosh.
No, in a great way.
She was the best person to start with.
Kick it off, just so uplifting, and she supports women and has such a beautiful message. So.
Yeah.
And she is very authentic, and that comes through when
So
she's
authentic.
speaking. And it's really nice to spend that time with her and sit in a room with her and you know, let her do share her magic.
Right. No, I just remember I was like just feeling her energy. Like I was vibrating from her vibration.
Amazing.
It was, yeah.
And it was a nice time for everyone who may not have connected in person at BNV to see each other. And everyone is doing such different things. Like there's not a sense of competition or any kind of, everyone's supporting each other.
Right.
Well, and one of the things, like going back to you saying it's been a hard year for women in regards to COVID and industry, and we've seen that kind of globally. COVID has hit women harder in terms of in their careers and moving out of industry. And we've been fortunate to be able to keep podcasting all year. But that was really one of the things that we were so excited for about this episode was it gave us a chance to actually celebrate each other's voices, band together as a community, and raise up each other's voices and share them so that we can, you know, become exposed to some of our peers' kind of audiences and celebrate each other. So it's a really nice way to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Keep it positive.
Been a lot of great things that have come out of 2020. And I think, you know, in reflecting on this day, International Women's Day, I think we can really acknowledge that and elevate that energy that has actually come from 2020. I started Life Out Loud in the middle of this pandemic.
Did you?
Was it then? Wow.
May 19th, 18th or 19th. Oh my gosh. It was Victoria Day weekend.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Good for you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm not even a year old. I'm still
You're
a
just
baby, y'all. I'm
baby.
still a baby over
She's
here in the
growing.
Life Out Loud podcast. And I am growing, yes.
I absolutely
love that.
That's so awesome. Congratulations. I just
So much more goodness to come for you, Martina.
Oh, thank you. And the same for you guys. Like, this is just the beginning.
So exciting to
This is
see
just the
everyone just
beginning.
kind of grow and flourish in this way. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and one of the things I was reminded of when we all got together is just like what an incredible group of women in the BNV family, but podcasters and in this city. And I've been reflecting on it all week. And we are just so lucky. And I think we've got such a nice sense of community and support for each other. And we do love working together. And I'm just like so in awe of it. In awe of all of us. Like it's,
Me too.
we are so fortunate. And these are such a great group of women.
Truly is a blessing.
And we're super lucky we got to, as you mentioned, Sarah, continue through COVID, through all of 2020, still connecting with women, men, but people here locally especially, and letting them still share their voices and their narratives and their stories to kind of help people. And we've had a few good laughs along the way, so hopefully we made it easier and more enjoyable for people if they weren't feeling so good throughout the year. But.
Yeah, no, exactly. And this really is a community. And I'm just so grateful that we can come together and put this together for everyone to hear.
Absolutely. In this episode, we have an all-star lineup for you. We have Tay Anita from The Tay Anita Show, Sierra Burchell from Universally Judged, Geneva Dickey from The Book of Love, Wendy Sparks from Courtside Moms, and Jessica Beauchamp from the Strong Feelings podcast.
Yay.
Amazing.
Such a good lineup.
Such a great lineup.
Oh my gosh.
And in this episode, we talked about everything from women's health, well-being, sharing our voices authentically, celebrating our femininity, and building community.
Love it.
And before we dive into this episode, we want to thank our sponsors and episode partners, Millennia Tea, Made with Local, Luvo Wine, Ben Beauty. A huge shout out to Jessica Eman, who came and snapped so many amazing photos of us throughout the day. So thank you. Thank you everyone for your support and helping us celebrate International Women's Day. Should we dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we're so excited to welcome Tay Anita here with us today.
Yeah.
A gal we love. She's been on the Rival and Queen show before. Yeah. She is the owner of 3 Spinco studios in Halifax, the ultimate encourager. I think that's fair to say.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And she has the Tay Anita podcast and the Her Movement.
Yeah.
So we're so happy you're here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, by the way. I think this is amazing what you guys are doing. I love all of your platforms, and I think that you all speak up for women that need your voice. So thank you. On behalf of every woman out there, seriously.
Sarah just raised the roof.
Yeah, I did. We feel the same. We're just celebrating.
There's so many good vibes in the room. So Tay, tell us, with your podcast, and you've got a huge social media platform, are there topics that you get to speak about now that maybe you wouldn't have or wouldn't have wanted to talk about before?
Yeah, so I've thought about life without social media, and I've thought about life without, I've actually contemplated stepping back. And I talked about this yesterday on my Instagram because there is a lot of judgment and there's a lot of hate out there, and I feel like I'm a target. And, I was like, I'm just going to take a step back. I'm not going to share. And then I reminded myself yesterday morning, no, I was born to do this. Like, if I didn't have social media, I would find a way to be able to serve people and serve women, especially because I can so relate to the intimate parts of, like, the struggles and the self-doubt and all of these things that come in so hard for a woman especially. So I thought to myself, no, I'm not going to let the haters dictate how I show up right now or in the future. So I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to share whatever I feel I need to share to help someone else, because maybe what I'm going through can help someone else. And so to answer your question is, I would find a way. I think that it's important that we have open conversation about what we're dealing with, what we're being faced with. I think self-doubt is like a really big thing that I talk about a lot, because I think it can hold us back from what is meant for us and I always say what we're called, created, and intended to do, because I think...
I know!
Say it again.
Can you say that again? Because that just went right into my spirit.
What we're called, created, and intended to do. Yeah. I know, like full body chills, because like we get one life, and I talk about it all the time, and if I could condense my message into one thing, it's we get one life. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. I have experienced a lot of death in my family, very, very close quarters, and I feel like I don't want someone else to have to see death. Like I held my grandfather's hand last December, and I saw him go from life to death, and that changed something inside of me, and I was like, no, we get one life and that's it. Like tomorrow is not guaranteed, so I'm gonna give this moment everything I have, and absolutely everything I have, because it's a blessing that I got to wake up today, and it's a blessing that I get to see another day. So this is an opportunity to make something beautiful happen. So that is my message that I want to promote and preach to the rooftops on my social media. So if I didn't have my platform, if I didn't have my podcast, I'd find a way. I'd be out on the streets telling people like, you get one live, like, let's go. I always text all my friends and family in the morning. I'm like, you got to wake up this morning. Like, you have a beat in your heart. You have breath in your lungs. Like, let's get after this. So that's my message, and I'm so passionate about it. And there's like this purpose that like runs through my veins. Like, I can't even explain the feeling. I feel it. But
I can feel it.
I'm just like, come on, like
energy.
this is it.
We need
like,
we needed this today.
Yes.
This is our first chat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to live in a world where people think that right now is like, I don't know, like it's guaranteed, because
Right.
it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the pandemic probably has maybe opened up our awareness to that, because there is so much uncertainty. And that's kind of been the whole kind of theme during this season of our lives collectively, is that, we're in unprecedented times, and the future is so uncertain, but really it always has been uncertain. You know what I mean? And I think this is just a reminder to us that, like you said, we are not guaranteed tomorrow. And I love your message. It's
good.
You are on my show next, girl. I am locking you down, because you really, this is about living a purposeful and meaningful life, and that is what I'm hearing from you. And
That's what it's all about. I mean, I wouldn't, there's no purpose to life if I'm just going to go through the motions of everyday life and show up half-heartedly. I don't want that life.
Right. And it's like, and through death, it teaches us to live. It teaches us to look at, what do we want to do with the time that we have left?
It's so precious, and I don't think people always realize that. And I don't want someone to have to see, like I said, I don't want someone to have to see their hero die in their hands. Like, that is tragic. But maybe it does take something so tragic to be like, all right, let's go. We get one life. And I'm so fired up about it. My grandfather's last words were, "It's a beautiful life." And I plastered everywhere. I have it tattooed on my body. It's on the building in Dartmouth. Like, I'm like, everywhere. It's going to be up on billboards next. But it is a beautiful life. It's what you make it. And if I can use my social platform and if I can use my podcast to remind people to wake up to that truth, like, I'm all in for that. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. And don't stop.
I'm sweating
don't stop
here.
what you're doing.
Okay.
Keep doing it.
Thank you. Seriously, though.
There's
But
more people
I'm-
that love you than.
Well, you know that the haters are there for a reason. They're there to remind you that you actually do have some, something inside of you that's like stirring them up.
Right.
Like, they're not
Right.
gonna hate on you if you have nothing
To say.
there. Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I got my first hater. Let's go. I'm doing
Yeah.
something. I'm making moves. So
love that.
I think it's really important to sit back and be like, all right, this is what I'm meant to do. And I think. And I don't even like the word haters, but, like, the naysayers, the whatever.
Yeah.
The people that kind of get in your head a little bit.
Distractions.
And distractions. But that's what, I come from a spiritual background. Like, that is the thing that's trying to take you off your path of, like, what is actually meant for you. Because there's so much power in what you truly carry. So the distractions that try to take you off your path, I use those as reminders to be like, oh yeah, that's the power that I have. I'm gonna keep activating that. And, like, it builds your resilience, it builds your strength to
that's
be
true.
like, let's go.
That's right.
Yeah, you just
Girl,
love
don't
it.
let them block your blessings, honey. That's all I gotta say. Don't let the haters block your blessings.
I love that. It's true.
And
So many
gosh,
people
it's-
let them though.
Right.
Right? And if I can live my life on social media and through my podcast, if I can, I'm going to fall short. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm human, and I think that's also a really important thing to portray or to kind of tell on Instagram and social as well, because we're all human. We're all going through a human experience. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We're not perfect. And I think to be imperfectly perfect is so much powerful than try to be something that you're not. But so many people let the haters block their blessings, and then they get to the end of their lives and they're like, I never lived out this thing that I was meant to. So you have regret of not living out this life that you're meant to, because you let that person who actually is only saying that because it's unfamiliar for them, because you're stepping outside of the confines of what they believe to be true about themselves. Anyway, that's all.
Oh my goodness.
I love this.
You just took me to church right now. I am feeling like you are giving me so much soul food in this short discussion. Like,
Yes.
it's just incredible. You have such a beautiful message, and
Thank you so much.
I'm sure our listeners can already hear the inspiration and how you inspire others. And how do you use your podcast to inspire others to follow their dreams? For example?
Well, I want to bring on real conversations like this. Like, this is what I'll have so much energy. I'll get on Instagram and I'll be like, you know when you're in purpose?
Yes.
And then you're like, I have so much energy. And sometimes when you're just going through things, going through the motions, and your energy's drained, like, you gotta do things that hype you up and amp you up, and, like, you can really tell what's for you and what's against you by the energy that you receive in the moment, right? So I use my podcast by bringing on people that have the same mindset. Not exactly the same. You don't want to have the exact same mindset as someone. You want people to, like, challenge you, but in all, believe that the best is yet to come. Believe that, being around people that are like-minded and lift you up is so important. Like, who you surround yourself with matters more than people give credit, because who you surround yourself with is what you become. So if you're around unhappy people, you're going to become less happy. If you want to be more successful, surround yourself with successful, whatever that means to you. If you want to be happier, surround yourself with happy people. I don't know. I just feel like my podcast is a place and a space for us to bring people together and just have real conversations about what it's like to really step into what's meant for you, like what you're called, created, and intended to be. Like, that's it.
Damn.
We love that.
So beautiful.
That's it. Yeah.
Whew,
We
that
love
is a
it.
whole word right there. I'm just sitting over here trying to process everything.
I know. It's
I
nice-
can't speak anymore. You guys are gonna take over.
Tay, you have inspired us, which is awesome. And I think you've brought up such a great point that, when you put yourself out there and put your voice out there, you do expose yourself to
Absolutely.
to backlash and things like that, but your message is such a great reminder for everyone to keep going, keep sharing their gifts and sharing their voice.
Yeah.
I love this.
Did you guys post on social that like who holds back from posting content? Yeah,
I did, because
Tell
I've
me
been
about
listening
it.
to
Okay.
Gary Vee on
Love him.
repeat, just
Yeah.
like trying to get in the jam about
Yeah.
some content marketing. And he had a talk saying that people aren't really able to be authentic sometimes because they hold themselves back in fear of judgment.
Right.
And I think there was like 85% of people
I saw
wrote
that.
said that they agreed that they would delete something.
Yeah.
And his view is, don't put perfect images or content
Don't.
out there. Just put stuff out there like
It's
if
not
you have a
real.
thought or you have
Yeah.
something you want to share, just put it out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Sometimes when I get in my car and I'm like, you know, one of those things, I'm like doing this like motivational thing because it's something that's been placed in my heart. I'm like, gotta share this. And then I watch it after, and I've been doing like one takes only and then just putting it out there. But then I start to think, oh my gosh, wait, did that even make sense? But then I know if I'm talking from a place of true, like in the true depths of my heart, I know that it's just whatever it is, it's meant for somebody, whether
Yes,
it's one
right.
person
That's
or
it.
whether it's 1,000 people.
That's
It's like meant for someone. And so many of my girlfriends always send me like their videos before they post it, and I'm like, if you have if there's one little ounce of you that feels like that's for somebody, you just gotta do it. I'm always
Yes.
like, post it, do it, because they are second guessing whether or not it's good enough.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like when I saw that post, it really fired me up because I was like,
We actually got some really long, I think 3 or 4 people wrote us like really, really long messages about it. So
it's
it
a
was
very interesting thing.
Yeah.
It's funny because when we are putting ourselves out there on social media like the 4 of us do, I get a lot of messages being like, oh, I would love to start like being an influencer. I would love to start putting myself out there. I'm like, okay, let's go. What's holding you back? I hear so many stories of these young girls that have waited like 5 years. I'm like, okay, you've waited 5 years, way too long. Let's step into this right now. Post a photo. Post a story. If this is what is on your heart, and if it's for the right reasons, if it's for validation, then maybe we got to look a little deeper. But if it's for the right reason, if there's like something behind that heart, it's
Go for it.
yeah, like go for it. So I love when you posted that. I was like, wow, that's very interesting.
The conversation will continue.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This
Thank
has been
you.
such a beautiful
Message.
What an important message for today.
Tay, where can people find you?
At Tay Anita, and then my podcast is the Tay Anita Show, and I'm relaunching very soon. So
Nice.
yeah,
Thank you.
yes.
so
Thank
I've been
you
going
guys
into the
so
archives,
much.
but yes,
Yes.
we're really excited for the new
Oh,
stuff too.
thank you guys so much for having me. Honestly, I'm a full supporter of all of this. So let's go.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. Let's do it.
We are so excited to welcome one of our faves. Sierra Burchell is with us today. She is a beautiful mother
So beautiful.
of baby Lily, who we love.
We love
She's an influencer online. She's also Miss Universe Canada 2016.
Come on,
She
winning
is.
crowns. Okay, come on.
We love it. And she shares her voice with us through her YouTube and through her social media channels. And we are so happy to have you here today with us.
Oh, I'm so excited
Thanks
to
for
be here.
coming.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.
This is so wonderful.
So good. So Sierra, as Sarah just outlined, you've got a huge platform on different social media channels. How do you use your voice to kind of like help uplift women?
How I use my voice to uplift women is just by sharing my own personal struggles, because I know that if I'm going through something, if I'm struggling with something, surely there are others out there who are also feeling the same way. And that's kind of how I got started with social and sharing body confidence, body positivity, was just being like, I'm going through this, I'm struggling, here it is. And so many people resonated with that, and it turned into this like huge platform, I guess. I didn't expect it, but it was awesome to know that I wasn't alone in what I was going through.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and that's something we should add in, because I don't know if you know this, Martina, but when Sierra was Miss Universe Canada, she got a lot of flack from haters, we'll say, for her body image. And as you can see, she's a beautiful woman. But you ended up speaking out and got picked up by Vogue, Cosmopolitan, for basically defending yourself and your body.
Yeah, people were calling me plus sized, overweight, and at the time I would have been about a size 8, US size 8, and I just thought, what the heck? Like, this is, I feel like I'm a pretty normal girl, and
Wow.
So crazy.
Ruthless, like the fast fashion industry, modeling, something I'm kind of diving into now, and then even like some of those, I guess, messages that society has told us from such a very young age as children, and how it's conditioned us to believe that there is one type of beauty, there's one body type that is beautiful, there's one skin color that is beautiful, you know what I mean? And so to be able to stand against it and stand your ground and say, no, enough is enough.
right.
That takes a lot of courage.
It
takes a lot of courage.
It did take a lot of courage, and I
Yeah.
felt like people would always say to me, "Oh, you must have such a thick skin," and I said, "Yeah, like I had to because I was just trying to show up as myself, but it was really met with a lot of resistance. Also because I looked different than a lot of the other women competing at Miss Universe, even though I was a size 8, which is a pretty average size. The average woman competing would probably be like a size 0, size 2. So certainly I was not the average at that competition, but I really did have to just stand up and stay strong. I know that I would be met with people who didn't agree with what I looked like because I didn't look like everyone else.
And thank you for doing that.
No, exactly. Like, thank you for us.
Just being you.
And thank you for the generations that are coming up, you know what I mean, behind us, and who have role models such as yourself to really like appreciate who they are, the skin that they're in. And you know what I mean, that is so powerful, especially at such a young age, you know.
Totally.
And in a day, like, I saw someone mention this on Instagram before about the filters. And like how these filters are just like transforming our looks and like slimming our faces and contouring our noses and giving us different eye colors, and like, you know, some of the younger generations are looking at this and comparing themselves to that unrealistic look or that fake look, and looking at their own, you know, imperfections, quote unquote imperfections, right? Because it doesn't look like that, but that's not real either.
Exactly.
So it's still going to be.
It's still going to be it's like a whole new challenge now that we're having to overcome. And I see influencers sharing like filter-free Mondays, and I'm like, what? It should be filter-free all the time. Like, I don't understand. But and some people will say, no, the filter gives me confidence, and I'm like, but it's so interesting that you have to filter yourself to feel confident to show your face. You know, like, it's actually kind of sad. But anyway, that's a whole whole thing.
We could talk.
But it's good that you talk about it, and
For
it's
sure.
good to talk about it
Recognize it,
because
right.
it helps remind us, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Oh, so much to talk about.
I know.
So, of course, with International Women's Day, it's really about like empowering women and inspiring women, and really recognizing and acknowledging women's achievements. What do you believe is, you know, or what is a women's empowerment moment that you've had, or a moment that has inspired you on your journey?
I think, a moment I would have had would have been at Miss Universe, I would say, because I felt like it was such a simple thing for me to be standing up for myself and for anyone who has ever felt like they don't fit in because of their body size. And that very seemingly simple story, simple message was shared by Vogue, Time, Cosmo, Elle. And I thought, how strange is it that something so simple as being like, I love myself for who I am. Like, why is that such a moment? Why does that need such a moment? But it was. And so I think that, to me, that moment of just showing up as myself and sharing with others that they can show up as themselves, being such a simple act, ended up being so global. Like, to me, that really showed me we have so much work to do, not only in the world, but even with ourselves. Like, knowing that we are okay, we are beautiful as we are every single day, even if we don't feel confident every single day, that's completely fine. But I think that was a big moment for me as well going forward in my life, knowing that life has seasons as well. Like, we won't always feel confident, in terms of even body too. Like, I'm a different size now than I was when I competed at Miss Universe. I've had a baby, I've gone through that season of life, and that's okay too. But I think people always think, you know, oh, I've got to lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds to feel confident again. And I think it's more acknowledging where we are in the moment. Like, COVID has been a huge thing for us, you know, not going out as much, and just recognizing like us and our bodies are not meant to be the exact same, like we are fluid, you know, so I guess that has helped me in my life.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love just too that message about being confident in your in your own skin. Like I think that's such an important message for all of us.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, as you were saying, like it is fluid. We are moving through this journey of life, and we're aging. You know what I mean? And it's, you know, that's it is okay, and we are enough.
Absolutely,
we are enough.
And like Tay said, we're still alive, living our lives. So I just be thankful for each day.
It's true.
Yes.
It is true. Yeah. And I think too, I also want to let people know that like I've been many different sizes. I've been like a size 2, a size 4 in my 20s, and I was actually so much less happy being a smaller size because I had to like starve myself and do these crazy things to be that size. So I think we have this perception that once we look a certain way, once we reach a certain size, that's when we'll be fully happy, fully confident, and that is just not the case.
Right.
Oh, that's good too.
That is so powerful message.
Amen.
One last thing I want to ask you before we wrap, because I do think you're such a big advocate for women. Why do you think women's voices are important?
I think one of the bigger questions to ask is why should women's voices not be important? Like why would women's voices ever not be important?
Right.
But they're important because they should be heard, and we all deserve to be heard. And women have so many powerful things to say that there's just no reason why our voices are not important and shouldn't be heard.
Absolutely.
Love that.
So good.
1,000%.
We are down. We are down for that message.
We support that message.
Great. We stand.
Well, thank you so much, Sierra. This has been so
thank you.
beautiful, and we're so happy you're joining us again.
My pleasure.
Where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Just my first and last name, Sierra Burchell.
Check her out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to give a big shout out to Made with Local for sponsoring this episode. If you don't already know, they make the most delicious real food bars and granola bar mixes that are actually good for you. They are women-owned and run business based out of Nova Scotia. Their products are actually handmade at social enterprise bakeries that they partner with. We love that. And I'm personally obsessed with the coconut in the dark bars. They're often my go-to breakfast or snack on the go. And I actually don't feel bad about what I'm putting in my body because the ingredients are so simple. You can grab your own Made with Local bars and granola bar mixes at grocery stores all across Canada, like Superstore and Sobeys, or order them online at madewithlocal.ca. Once again, thank you so much, Made with Local, for helping us celebrate International Women's Day.
We are so excited to welcome Geneva Dickey to join us today. Geneva.
Woo!
She is the podcast.
She is.
She is the podcast host of The Book of Love and also matchmaker extraordinaire. Can we say that?
Oh, yeah.
She does that.
You better own it.
Whatever you want to call me.
Yes, honey. Yes, you better own it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited to see you again. We've had Geneva on our podcast before. It's so amazing. But we kind of want to understand what International Women's Day, I mean, today's International Women's Day, but what does that mean to you, Geneva?
Yeah, so International Women's Day to me just means being thankful for the pioneers. So those women from years and years and years ago that paved the way for us. And I know that when I was in a different life, I was a geomatics professional out in northern Alberta. And I was up north in these huge camps where there was like no women and all men. And I was like, my gosh, this place sucks. Like the things that I had to deal with in regards to chauvinism and sexism and just dealing with all those men, I was really kind of blown away because I hadn't experienced it before because I was raised by such powerful women. I didn't realize that that wasn't normal. And so I remember there was this one woman, she was like has been up there for 35 years. She's like a veteran. And I sat down to dinner with her one evening and I asked her what it was like when she first arrived because I'm like, this place is hell. And she started telling me stories about what it was like and what she had to do to change everything and the sacrifices that she had to make and the work she had to do. And I was just like, and at that point, and I was just young, I was, I think, 25 at the time, and I just realized that, wow, like where we're at now, we have come so far, and us as women have to be so proud of that, because yeah, the pioneers, they started from the very beginning and they just paved the road for us. And yes, we have a long way to go, but thank you to them. I'm just so grateful.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
So remembrance and just thankfulness is what International Women's Day means to me.
That was another raise the roof moment.
And aside from being here with us today, and we're obviously celebrating, but is there any other ways kind of you want to celebrate or that you'll be celebrating?
Women's Day?
Yeah.
Honestly, I completely forgot that it existed. Because I'm just surrounded by such amazing, powerful women like yourself that you're celebrating it every day. We're celebrating everything that we have every day. That to have a day is amazing, but I mean, gosh, we're celebrating it every day anyhow. So every day I do.
Totally.
Yeah,
Love that.
I love that
Keep
too.
it going.
Absolutely. And I think March is even Women's Month.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have the Women's Day.
We
today,
deserve all
March
the
8th.
days.
But you just took it right 365 days of the year. All of the years.
All of my life.
We
Keep
better.
on celebrating.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I love that. So you have a business.
Mm-hmm.
You have a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, and we are all entrepreneurs, we have our own business, we have our podcasts. One of the things I think that we often think about in terms of like why we do it is the why. Like what builds what we're doing is our why, and that's at the core of our very existence and all these different things that we're trying to accomplish. Why is it that you started podcasting? What is your why?
You gotta start with why, don't ya?
You do. And that is the thing, and I find that's the thing that also carries you through those moments when you're like, why the hell am I doing this? Because there are moments of struggle, of course.
The why can be followed by why the hell am I doing this?
Yeah, but it is the purpose, you know.
Yeah,
So
living for your purpose.
why did you start podcasting?
It's interesting because my podcast I think is different than a lot of you ladies. Like yours is coming from pure creativity and just giving back. Mine was for selfish reasons because I'm a businesswoman, and so it first started as just another way to promote my business, another way to get the word out there. But as I started working on it and as I started to see the feedback that was coming back, I realized that it was so much more than that. It was almost just giving back to the single community here in Halifax, because one thing that I realized after I started getting feedback is that there's people that have been following me that will never use my matchmaking services or never use my dating coaching services. And this podcast is their plug-in to the single community here in Nova Scotia so that they feel like they're not alone. So that's kind of what I've morphed into after time. Of realizing that it's almost, I don't want to say it's a community service, but it's what I can do to give back that's outside of the business. And even just the tiny things that we talk about, or a single that we bring on and somebody can relate to, and they're like, oh my God, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one having a hard time dating. I'm not the only one that has been no-showed. I'm not the only one that's going through this. And for them to have that realization that in Halifax, other people are going through the same struggle, and to have done that by listening to that podcast, that is really what keeps me motivated with it. And the stories that come out and the feedback that we get. So I think that would be my biggest why.
Oh, that's so nice. I think like we feel that too. That I mean, we did start it because we wanted an outlet for creativity, but it's the community. Yeah, but the community you get from it, and like the people who connect with you, and you realize the impact you have for them. It's so incredible. It fuels you to keep going.
Absolutely.
And did you ever find that before you ever had your own community, that when other people would be like, it's the community, it's like, it's the community, whatever. But then you get your own community and you're like, it's the community.
We are so excited to welcome Wendy Sparks, the creator and host of Courtside Moms, the podcast that interviews mothers of professional basketball players. Welcome, Wendy.
Yes.
Thank you
Hey.
for having me. It's really an honor to be here. Thank you for thinking of me.
So nice for you to be here.
This is like your second home as well. Everyone's home.
Yeah, this is
That's
true.
so true.
Welcome.
This is where we all make magic happen, right?
That's right. Like you said, yeah.
Totally.
So as Sarah said, you have a podcast that you created to interview tons of different moms in different kind of like basketball spaces. Is it just here in North America, Canada?
Globally.
Global.
Come on, Miss International.
So my show, Courtside Moms, is about, as you said earlier, interviewing mothers of professional basketball players that play in the WNBA. I say women first.
We love
The NBA, the G League, and overseas. So that touches pretty much all the circuits. And a lot of people don't know that basketball is around the world. They just think the NBA is where it starts and ends, and that's not true. So I interview these moms, and we talk about their journeys and the roles that we play, because I'm an NBA mom. So yes. And people don't really, the fans just say, or the public, they don't know what it takes to get a player to a professional level, and it's a lot of work. And I just thought that, you know what, the voices of the moms need to be heard. It's really important because we want everybody to understand where it all began.
Absolutely. So talking to all these moms all over the world with daughters or sons, what are kind of the common themes that you're hearing from these mothers' voices?
Love that question.
What do you bring to the podcast? Tell us.
Okay, so I would think 4 major themes that I can think of off the dome right now.
Yeah.
I would say patience, love, sadness, and then relief.
Okay.
And those for me are the main things that I've noticed when I sit back and I listen to the interviews and I listen to what the mothers talk about. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing that can beat a mother's love. You know, you're sitting there and you're watching your child and they come to you with this dream. And they're saying, I want to play professional basketball. And for moms, a lot of mothers, to them it's like, okay, no problem, just go outside and play. But then they want to go to high school and they want to play. And then they want to, you know, when we go to college and play. And the next thing you know, it's, oh, wait a minute, this is actually a career.
Right.
You actually can make a career from playing this sport. And to become a professional athlete is so hard. It is so hard. It's not, people think that it's just easy. You can just, okay, you're great at what you're playing. But you have to understand the percentages of professional athletes that actually come out of playing, just say, an NCAA basketball, which is college. It's not that much.
Right.
You know what I mean? The NBA only I'll use NBA as an example. The NBA has 30 teams. So you only have like 400 or 450 players per year. But yet you have thousands and thousands that play college.
Wow.
So you manage the percentage to get there.
Right.
So you have a mother who is just pouring all her love into this child and saying, okay, together we're going to get you there. You know what I mean? You go through a lot of sacrifices. Sometimes you have moms that can't afford for their kids to play at different levels. So you have to get those resources. Where do you go to get the resources? It's tough if you don't know, because if you're not in sports yourself, sometimes you have no idea where to go.
Right.
And you see that your son or your daughter has potential, but you have no idea what to do. And then you see the sadness of sometimes they go undrafted. Your child, my son went undrafted, so you're devastated for your child. But then you see your son or daughter get drafted. So then you see, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, I'm living this. He or she is finally living this. But then you have this sense of relief, like, wow, all these years and all the work is finally paying off.
Wow. I have chills with you talking about that. Because I just feel like, and I don't have children, but I feel like a mother's love is like so unique. Like you love your child through everything, and you're so invested in their dreams. So I can only imagine. Yeah.
And thank you for saying that investment. And that's the one thing I say to a lot of parents: invest in your child, no matter what they want to do. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Your child says, "I want to do this." Take the time, and I don't mean invest in money. Invest with your time. Take those hours that they've taken. You know what I mean? And look at what it is. They're kids. They just see the end results, right? They don't understand what it takes to get there. They need parents. They need, you know what I mean? They need that love. They need that trust.
Right.
You know, and give me that chance, mom or dad, you know what I mean? Like, believe in me. And that is a lot, that's really tough, because you have a lot of parents that come from single homes. You have a lot of parents that just don't have time. They work 3-4 jobs, You know what I mean? They don't have time. For them, it's like, okay, you want to go play, but just go play. But I have to go, you know, because I'm a nurse, and you know what I mean? And I'm an accountant. Yeah, you know what I mean? That I watch,
counselor.
that's pretty much a security of the block. Yeah, I always get things to do. That's it. You know what I mean? I got to do all this and put food on the table. And meanwhile, your child is so talented, and you don't know, and you don't realize until you get there, and you're like, oh my God, what is it? You know?
Everyone's here to see my kid.
Yeah, but true. You imagine that at a game. I remember going to a game and seeing people lose their mind over my son. I was losing my mind over my son because he's my son. You know what I mean? But after a while, I'm like, wait a minute, she's screaming just as loud as me. Like, why?
She's a stranger.
Yeah, I'm like groupie, but no, but it's true. When you're there and you see the fans, you see the public, you see the media, and you're like, wow, this child is, you know, he or she, they're there. You know what I mean? They're realizing their dream. And to me, that is, for me as a mother, there's nothing better than that for me to see my kids live their dreams, or at least try. The effort is what matters to me, right? My son has been blessed that he's able to live it. So to me, that's everything.
Oh, yeah, that is so beautiful. You know what? And I'm sure it wasn't, you know, a straight line up to success. And I think that's why it's so important that you have this platform to, you know, really give people the background, to give them like the insight behind the success, that it's not just about playing well and then getting there. You know what I mean? Like, and so when, you know, he wasn't drafted, you know, you felt that too, but this is part of his process, and that was part of his journey. But it's not always like, because sometimes we just see it and it's like, oh my gosh, he just kind of leveled up every single way, but sometimes we forget to acknowledge the parts when we step back a little bit, or we don't get that opportunity that we were hoping for. And so for you to have a platform to share those, you know, stories, those experiences with other courtside moms, you know, it's so important and it's so beautiful. And you know, why is that so important to you? I'm making my own assumptions as to, you know, we are a basketball family, but not WNBA or NBA yet.
But I'm making those assumptions too.
But I'm making that assumption myself, just from my own experiences with growing up in a basketball home. But why is it so important for you to have this platform, to have created this platform for these voices of courtside moms?
For me, it's super important because it represents the beginning of where it all started. When you're watching the NBA or the WNBA or the G League, or you're watching Euro games, how do those players get there? To me, I think that speaks volumes. It's beautiful when you're there and you're screaming for your favorite player and you're wearing his jersey or her jersey and you're roaming through the city, but where do they come from? Like, where did this all start? And nobody asks these questions. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, well, hold on a second. It's not just the player's coach or the school that played a role. Who took them to school, or who took them to those practices, or who took them, you know what I mean? And for me, that's it. Like, you know what I mean? It's the mothers. I mean, of course, there's fathers, but my platform's for mothers. But it's the mother who makes sure that you got to do your homework. You know what I mean? You have to make sure you do this, and I have to feed you, and I have to make sure that you're great, and I have to make sure that you're educated, and I have to make sure that, because you're doing that role as a mother. So for me as a mom, I was like, well, hold on a second. I got to make sure that everything is, because you're raising a child. You're raising an adult, pretty much, to be an adult, right? You know what I mean? So where did it all begin? And I think the fans need to understand that, and the public need to understand that. Like, let's just go back a couple of years, because he didn't, or she didn't just arrive on the planet as a 25-year-old. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, they started, let's talk about this player when they were 2. Let's talk about how the love of basketball came about. Where did it come from? Did it come from, I don't know, an uncle, or mom? Did it come from mom? Excuse me. You know? Yeah, it came from the playground. It came from wherever their love of basketball came from. That's important to acknowledge. So I want people to understand the truth about how basketball started for that particular player. And this is why I do a lot of individual interviews, because I want to, and who is this woman talking, you know, who I'm talking to, you know what I mean? This is why we do it visually as well, because everybody knows what the players look like, no clue what the mother looks like.
Yeah.
So this is another thing for me that I'm like, you know what? I want to give you, that mom, that platform to actually get out there and let people know I'm the one who helped so-and-so get to where they are today. And that's what, for me, what it's all about.
I love that because it just brings back like the idea that there's such a team behind every person who's reaching that level of success. You know, you're never alone when you're getting up there.
There you go. Thank you for saying that, and that's true. And people just think that this child came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no.
You just birthed this child right into the court.
You know what I mean? He woke up. Yeah, and I keep telling people they didn't go from the womb to the court. You know, I mean, there was,
Exactly.
Yeah. Like we were there. So
Such an
You were there
important story to
encouraging,
tell.
driving,
Right.
feeding,
Yeah.
taking care of these people.
yes, and you know, we have some mothers that I speak to that say I didn't have any money. I was unable to feed. So you know what? I had to make sure that he or she ate. I didn't eat. And to me, I was like, oh, when I hear these stories, yeah, the sacrifice. That's why I say I love listening. And not all the moms. That's not the situation for everybody. But it's still something that you know what I mean, we take for granted. You know what I mean? We're like, okay, I always had dinner or supper or breakfast. You know what I mean? And I hear some moms that say, we didn't have no breakfast. I grew up with no breakfast. You know what I mean? And then here, just filtered onto my kids. So I made sure I did what I had to do to make sure that my son or daughter ate. I had to send them off to a college outside of the area because they were shooting around our areas. You know what I mean? So I had to give, make my child leave. You know what I mean? I had to raise my child from a distance. You know, so these are stories that a lot of people don't know. You know what I mean? Like they just stereotype these NBA or WNBA players or wherever they're playing, and it's like it's not true. And for me, you have to understand, or you should understand. You don't have to, but it's important for me and everybody that people understand. You know what I mean? Like from the egg, from the conception, from where maybe after the conception, but I don't know.
That journey was already there before that.
Hello.
So, come on now.
Like, what do you do as a mother? You know what I mean? When your child is like 6'9", you're like, oh my god. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, they just automatically think basketball. It's not necessarily the case, but that's just the go-to, right? Like my son tells everybody to this day that he plays chess.
Yeah. Well, this has been so amazing and beautiful. And thank you for sharing your perspective.
Wow.
And to all the moms out there,
Yes.
We love you. We love you so much.
we're celebrating you. Thank you so much.
Oh, well,
Wendy.
thank you for having me.
Wendy, where can people find you?
So, so the episodes drop every Wednesday, and you can find me wherever you catch your podcasts: Spotify, Apple, YouTube.
Woo!
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
YouTube,
YouTube,
okay.
because I want people, like I was saying, to see who is so-and-so's mom, right? And all of those platforms, it's Courtside Moms.
Love that.
Amazing.
Yes.
Check her out.
Yes. Thanks so much for being here, Wendy.
Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to welcome the very beautiful Jess Beauchamp. She is the co-creator and co-host of the Strong Feelings podcast that she does with her pal Cooper Tardival.
Thank you, babe.
Hi. Thanks
So
for
nice.
coming.
I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
We love that you're here with us.
Thank you for having me.
We love you.
It's
We
so
do.
nice to see you.
I know I haven't seen you guys in a while, and I've never met you.
I know, this was really exciting for me.
This is so
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah, it's been nice to just like even be in the studio. Like I think that Cooper and I are one of the only podcasts that record out of this studio, and so it's just nice to be here. It's warm always. We're all sweating,
Understatement.
but it's
So
really nice to be here.
And it's nice to be at the table together with
Yeah.
I know.
So
Women
fun.
podcast.
Oh,
That's
love
B&B
it.
ladies.
Yeah, what a good day.
Yeah.
Should we do our own Instagram?
Thanks so
the B&B ladies.
I don't know. He's going to take that out.
Yeah.
So, as a fellow female podcaster,
Yes.
Jess, you guys have been doing it for how long now?
It's crazy. Today actually our 31st episode came out. So it's been like I want to say like 4 months-ish, 5 months. I don't know.
I think you guys launched in like April or May. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm losing track of time.
Time
We don't know.
Like what is this year?
I know.
I don't know. It's been a bit. Actually no. I think one of our first episodes was it's been closer to 9 months. I'm literally losing my mind. Yeah, it's been a while. It's crazy.
If I didn't have Sarah, she knows the exact day.
I know the exact day we started, but I don't know how long that is.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the last interview.
September 19th.
But it's an important day. That's the day you actually got engaged, so that's what I remember too.
That's sweet.
By chance.
What a special day.
I think it's hard because Cooper and I recorded so many episodes that we just scrapped for so long. So in my mind, I'm like, it's been like a year, but I can't remember how long it's been officially. Yeah, because we just like trial and errored so many times because you're just so nervous about it, as I'm sure you guys can all relate to when you first started. So,
Totally.
yeah.
So as a female podcaster, is there anyone that you listen to that inspires you in the podcast world?
So I was thinking about this before coming, because obviously with like the theme of the day, just being talking about women, I was thinking about this, and it's funny because a lot of the podcasts that I do listen to, obviously because BNV does our podcast, I listen to a lot of the BNV podcasts, which is a lot of female, very powerful, very creative podcasts, and they're all very different. And then even just, you know, outside of the BNV family, like I do listen to a lot of podcasts that are done by women, and it's hard to pinpoint a certain person. So I was thinking about this, and I feel like I think that I relate to anyone who can just put themselves out there to just stand behind what they want to talk about, because, well, we were kind of talking about this right before we started, that it's a very vulnerable thing to put yourself out there, and I've learned that a lot through doing our podcast. And I really respect the podcasts that are being done that are very niche. Like I listened to one of my girlfriends that I grew up with. Her name's Daly. She lives in Vancouver. She just released a podcast called Talk Dying to Me. She's a palliative care doctor, and she's speaking about her experiences, her personal experiences, her you know, her patients, her colleagues. It's so niche, and it's so heavy, but I can imagine, because I think of how I feel just releasing my opinions on Taylor Swift's new haircut or whatever I'm talking about on our podcast. Yes, we get heavier than that, but you know, like it could be just the tiniest thing, or it could be something bigger. And I just think when you're putting yourself out there and it's so niche, you're kind of like, I hope people like this. I hope I get a following. And I think that can be very nerve-wracking because I can relate to it. And so I think anyone who can just have the courage to put themselves out there with like a very specific thing is something I just really admire. And like, you guys do that. Like, you guys would be on that list of people that I would put up there. Anyone in the BNV family, like, we all kind of have our own little lane. And I think that's what makes it really special. And so I don't know, I hope that answers.
I'm like, keep going.
But do you know what I mean? Yeah, like you guys know, it's vulnerable sometimes, and you get in your own head.
For sure.
Yeah, and so I feel like, especially when it's something that's very specific, you're like, I hope people like this.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's something for everybody.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you're inspired by a certain podcast or a certain host. And also, like, someone is inspired by you.
Exactly.
Because you bring something else to the market, to this platform. You know what I mean? And it takes a lot of courage.
People want to know about Taylor Swift's haircut.
I just totally made that up. I don't even know what Taylor Swift's haircut.
I'm like, so what do you think about it?
I know. I was wondering, so did she get her haircut?
I know.
I don't even know why I made that up.
I actually went there too. So
No, but I think that's good. You bring light.
It could be light or it could be serious.
Totally.
And it's like we were saying, you and I, like just before this, like even if it's just one person that you touch, I think that's what I kind of have started to tell myself when I get in my own feelings about it and be like, no one's going to care about that. I'm like, but then I like run into a person maybe at the restaurant or the gym or something, and they're like, I loved that you said on the podcast. I'm like, really? I'm like, oh, okay, nice. That was like the little boost of confidence I needed, because it's like, to keep going, exactly. So I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but I definitely can.
Relate to, over the summer I had one about overwhelmed by overwhelm, and I remember leaving the studio and I was like, as an American, I'm like, I there's something about this I really hate. Like, I'm kind of feeling like a certain kind of way releasing that out there. And someone just recently told me that they just listened to it and they really needed that.
Yeah.
So it was like in that moment I'm like, ugh, what did I just say? And I can't believe I exposed myself in that way.
Totally.
And then months later, like this was last summer,
Yeah.
and this was just the other week, someone had mentioned that episode.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like being convicted by, like Tay was saying this too, like when you're convicted by something and you speak from your heart,
Yeah.
you know, that is what's important. That's what's really going to resonate with people, and people are going to feel that connection.
Totally.
And yeah, that's
And I think like when we stay true to what our podcast's brands are, that's what people want. Like they do want, like for Cooper and I, sometimes I'm like, oh, we're fighting too much. We're not fighting enough. Or we're doing this. but I'm like, you know, being our authentic selves is why people come back every week. Like that just is what it is. So I feel like, you know, I'm sure you guys kind of feel the same way. Sometimes you're like, maybe I should change it to like reach a bigger audience. I'm like, no, the audience we have is tuning in because we are the way we are. And it's like, wow, people like us for who we are.
Yeah.
And that's really, I don't know, it's really flattering and really sweet. But
I love that. That's such a great message for all podcasters. You know what I mean? Like people are tuning in
for you.
for you.
Yeah.
So if you're a podcaster and you're listening to this,
Yeah.
hold that dear.
I love that.
Yeah.
And keep letting the people know if you loved an episode or something
Oh,
resonated.
it's so
Because when
nice.
we get those messages,
Oh,
I mean,
I'm
a
so
lot.
happy.
This whole year in particular, like I've always felt this way, but this year in particular, I've felt the need to, when I have a really great experience somewhere, if I listen to a great podcast or whatever, like just those tiny little words of affirmation to send someone a message, it means so much. Like the other day, I wrote to the owner of the gym that I go to, and I was like, I just want to let you know, like, I had a really great week, and like everyone was super supportive, and like I just know that how it feels sometimes whenever all you're getting is like the negative complaints. It's just like it's the tiniest thing that will literally make your day, and I would definitely encourage people to do that.
That's a good
Like it takes 2 seconds, but you don't know how much it means to someone. And I know even just people like engaging with like a silly story we put up, and they're just like, ha ha ha, and I'm like, cool, I made someone laugh. That makes me feel good. Like, great, I'm on the right track. And so I think that that's a big one for sure.
So beautiful. Oh, so this year, the International Women's Day theme is Choose to Challenge. How do you challenge norms within your show, a Strong Feelings podcast, pertaining to how society has conditioned us to have certain beliefs about women and feelings and emotions and all that stuff that people don't want to feel? Myself included. I am also putting myself in that category sometimes.
That's a really great question. That's definitely a really great question, and one that definitely goes through my mind sometimes with my podcast, because I feel as though like it's Cooper and I. Like our show is based off the idea that we are on opposite ends of the emotional universe, and also like our show works because we're on opposite ends of the emotional universe, and also he's a 43-year-old man and I'm a 29-year-old woman, and so I feel as though sometimes I think to myself like, well, is the show going to carry if we're not kind of like seeing eye to eye? But then I also think like, you know, we're meant to be opposite. And so to answer your question, I don't know if this is like a weird answer to give, but I feel as though I think it's celebrated on my show and it works on my show to have feminine energy. Like I don't have to make excuses for it. The fact that I'm an emotional person, I'm sensitive, I'm caring, all of these, I think, very strong feminine traits that I possess, that I'm organized and I think of others and I'm open to diverse opinions. I think those are all very powerful traits that most women carry. And I think that because I have that and Cooper doesn't, and it's not a slight on him.
He agreed, yeah.
It's not a slight on him, he would agree.
No,
I was even talking to him about like, I don't know what I'm going to say on the show today. But he is more, he's very direct and blunt, and he is less sensitive, less empathetic than I am. And that's amazing. That's why I love him. That's why we have a show together. But we balance each other. And so I think that what works for our show is that I don't have to make those excuses. It's super celebrated for me to be my authentic self, and my authentic self is very much a feminine energy. And so I don't ever feel the need to like apologize to be any different. Our show wouldn't work if I didn't just embrace that.
That's beautiful.
Does that make sense?
You just gotta raise the roof from Sarah.
Yeah.
Another raise the roof. She's been raising it.
I love it so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just feeling it. The full
I'm
moon.
feeling it.
The full moon.
So-
I know, it is so gorgeous in here.
Yeah, we're having
We have a sleepover? Should we?
Yes.
Snacks, tea, limo, we're-
Yeah, we're good.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
This was so
Oh,
lovely,
it's
and
my pleasure.
we've got so much to take away from today.
I know, this has been amazing. Before we wrap, Jess, can you
Yes.
tell us where can people find you?
You can find me at Strong Feelings Podcast. You can also find me at Jess L. Babs. My business partner Cooper's Instagram handle is jcoopertartable. But you can basically find us through Strong Feelings Podcast.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for being here
Oh,
today.
My babes, thank you so much.
Yay.